A mistrial was declared in the Bill Cosby case. For those of you who don't know, Bill Cosby was facing up to 30 years in prison for one specific charge that was brought from one of his many alleged victims over sexual misconduct, sexual assault after allegations arose, and it was brought up a while back that a lot of terrible stuff happened with Bill Cosby. So after 50 hours of deliberations by jurors, they could not come to a decision in the case of sexual assault brought by Andrea Constant in Montgomery County. She said that back in 2004, Cosby gave her 3 pills and quote said, "These are your 3 friends to help you relax." And she woke up in the middle of a sexual assault in progress. And the charges were brought, and after the jury did not come with a decision, the district attorney's office said the following. They said, "Our plan is moving this case forward as soon as possible. There's some good outcomes that have come from this. Despite the fact that the jury couldn't come to a verdict in this case, Andrea Constant and Kelly Johnson got to face the defendant in court and tell what happened to them. She is entitled to a verdict in this case, according to the district attorney. We will push forward and try to get that done and get justice done. Our job in this as prosecutors is we should take on the tough cases." What do you guys think after it was declared a mistrial?
I was shocked because, I mean, I'm gonna keep it really real. You guys probably hate me for saying this, but I think he did it. When 50 women, or so many women have come, more than 60 women now have come forward and said, "Oh my gosh, this has happened to me as well," and have given deep and distinct and very clear detail as to their account of the assault. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah.
What can you say? And also, Cosby had a conversation with Constant's mom and talked about the encounter and said that he gave her an orgasm. I mean, it's just very weird how he's getting off from this.
Right.
So what's frustrating for me is that this does all come down to evidence and like what evidence there is. And what we see with sexual assault, and this isn't something new, but it's something that we're hearing about because of this case, is that it's really hard for people to come forward. And as a result of that, because they're so afraid of the stigma and victim blaming, that sort of thing, it's hard to corroborate a lot of these stories. And that's what these, the prosecutors need. They need concrete evidence, so they need people to come forward as soon as possible. But because they were so intimidated by this person who was worth at one point in time $400 million, they didn't come forward. So now they're sort of scraping together, trying to get the best case. I think that they did have a really good case here, but it obviously wasn't enough. And what we need is, Bill Cosby's team is saying that this is a victory for him, that he has the power back.
They said he got the power, he has his power back.
But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that this was a first step in just figuring out what they need to build the strongest case against him. Some people are saying that this is a victory for Bill Cosby. I think this is exactly what it is. It's a mistrial. It's sort of a truce. And I think now going back in, it does look as though they are looking to prosecute again. I believe this is civil proceedings or criminal?
This it said, they talked about how they were happy that a civil case was brought.
Right,
and this is according to the attorneys from Constant herself. They said, "We commend these prosecutors who raised awareness that one of the hallmarks of drug-related sexual assaults is the effect that drug has on the victim's memory and ability to recall. We're nonetheless willing to present this evidence to the jury."
Yeah, so no, just exactly. I think that it's really an important step in the process in making sure that they do everything to present the most complete case so justice can be rightly served. And even though some people are feeling that that's not what happened, I think that we will see justice come to serve, because it doesn't seem as though people are feeling very disheartened. It's just an important step that they needed to take, knowing what they need to do even more to make sure that, again, justice is served.
Great, I'm glad.
And then this was the criminal decision. This was the criminal case that the mistrial was found in. But civil seatings, the difference is, like, is someone going to prison? That's a criminal case. Is someone going to receive monetary damages? That's a civil case, and both happen. For those, like, the same happened with O.J. Simpson. He was found not guilty in the criminal case, but when it came to the civil trial, he was found responsible for damages and he had to pay.
I'm glad you brought up the stigma and the backlash that the victims receive, because a lot of people on social media and online ask, well, why didn't they come forward 30 years ago? Why didn't they come forward 20 years ago? But Bill Cosby's a powerful man. He was even more powerful back in the 80s, back in the 90s, because he was America's dad. So for all the people who are supporting Cosby asking that question, that's exactly why, because these people were afraid. They didn't have the resources, the wherewithal, and also the support to fight a giant like Bill Cosby.
But these rumors have been flying around for years. I remember there's an episode of 30 Rock, like I want to say around 2008. Before the whole Hannibal Buress thing came around, where he made jokes that brought this back to the forefront, where they just mentioned Bill Cosby as someone who did this kind of stuff. And as someone I've been around Hollywood for a very long time. Like a lot of those rumors that they circle for a reason.
Yeah, because they're true.
Because and people just kind of know it. And it's so sad that it kind of sits around. And not to mention that this woman tried to bring a case back in the day, back when this happened. And the whole one of the main reasons that it said that this district attorney has this job at all is because he ran a campaign that said he couldn't believe that the previous district attorney did not bring these charges and did not try to pursue this case.
So what are the next steps?
The next steps are, well, it's a decision to be made by the district attorney. A lot of times when a mistrial happens, they just look and say, we presented our best case and we can't go forward with this again. But this district attorney seems to be confident that the next go around, they'll get a different result. And maybe that's as a result, they'll pursue it a different way, different charges. To look at this as a glass half full kind of thing, like the stigma around this, assuming that he's guilty, and it just seems so likely that he is, and a whole jury proceeding, like it is people hearing an argument and similar to what we're doing saying, yeah, I think he did it. So that's just my opinion, but if it's true, then I mean, we heard so much about the procedure that went forward. He did admit to giving her what he calls Benadryl, but even if it was Benadryl, he is giving her something. I took Benadryl last night to go to sleep because I couldn't go to sleep. I took 1, he gave her 3 according to his account. Like that's super sketchy. The idea that he is doing this stuff and what the evidence that went forward and was accepted. The fact that he says, I did have sex with her. I married Bill Cosby, had sex with her and it was consensual. Right. Another thing that's puzzling to me, and I want to get your thoughts about this, is Camille, his wife.
I'll
read her reaction, then I want to get your reaction to that. She says, how do I describe the district attorney? Heinously and exploitively ambitious. How do I describe the judge? Overtly and arrogantly collaborating with the district attorney. How do I describe the counsels for the accusers? Totally unethical. How do I describe many but not all general media? Blatantly vicious entities that continually disseminated intentional omissions of truths for the primary purpose of greedily selling sensationalism at the expense of a human life. As a very special friend once stated, the truth can be subdued but not destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so you mentioned that Cosby willingly said he had sex with this woman.
Yeah.
That married Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
That shines a light on his character right there.
Right, but it's possible that he and Camille had this relationship where he's like, listen, we're open, you know.
But how are you gonna throw the judge under the bus like that? Because the judge has been overwhelmingly, I think, very fair and balanced to a degree where people who feel as though Bill Cosby is wrong are very frustrated with the judge because some of the evidence that he will not accept. So I don't think that you can look at this and say that anyone has been, at least the judge, the judicial part has been biased in any sort of way, because they have really been like, look, we are gonna try this case, but there is, because of the timestamp on this, unfortunately there's a lot of evidence that is inadmissible. A lot of it is hearsay. A lot of it is stuff that we can't corroborate. It's a lot of he said, she said. Yes, a phone call took place, but it wasn't.
There's a lot of she's who said this.
Yeah, there was one phone call that was recorded when Bill Cosby spoke to her mom, and then there was one phone call that wasn't recorded. So what happened on that other phone call, we don't really know. And it is really frustrating for her to just throw the judge under the bus here, because that's just not what happened.
In many ways,
this case is being tried fairly.
Yeah, in many ways, the very sad thing is how many allegations the judicial or the legal system has had the opportunity to wade through, to find a case that seems like it could be brought, given how difficult it is. And
but I really have faith, because hearing from the legal representations, I know Gloria Allred is one of them, and people have mixed feelings on her. But hearing from the legal representations of a lot of these victims who have come forward, I feel strongly that there will be another case that will be presented, whether
there will be justice.
There will be justice. It's just that it might not be as swift as we would like, but I really do have faith that there's going to be justice here, because there has obviously been a heinous crime that has been committed, and he will be held responsible.
The the most damaging thing is when his lawyer said he has the power back.
Right.
It's like, have you been following this whole thing? He's had the power the whole time.
But also questionable is back to Camille. You said we don't know what their relationship's like. Fine, that's great. You know, people marry for better or for worse. But when your husband, you have to stop and think. You know, when your husband's admitted to having an affair, extramarital affair, and then all these women are coming forward and saying the same thing. Camille Cosby, you have to stop and think, okay, well, as a person in the right mind, like this, there could be some truth to this.
She has stopped and think.
They're super, yeah.
This is about the money. It has to be.
Say it, I agree. I agree.
She just needs to work to like keeping this empire somewhat alive.
Yeah, and I very much agree.
And the victories, just before we go, victories. I was talking to someone who has had a friend who was a victim of sexual assault, and in the article, the guy said that the silver lining here is that the victims face their accuser. I think if Cosby, fine, we want Cosby to be held accountable, but the good thing is that this person now can start healing from this because she's been able to tell her story and really look the person in the face and say, listen, you fucked my life up.
Yeah, but how discouraging it must feel to do all that.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the jury just kind of says, I don't know. Yeah. How bad does that make you feel?
Someone also said, Cosby may get away with this in this lifetime, but in the next lifetime, may not look so good.